Hello.
Hi, we are Doctors Jennifer and Jake Dean Hill, and this is the Doctors J&J podcast. We are so excited to be here with you today. We are both licensed therapists. We work together, we live together, we lead together, so we understand the challenges of being able to work peacefully and harmoniously together. We have come up with a simple, concrete solution. It's called Wear Two Crowns.
Wear Two Crowns is all about equity, learning how to bring out the strengths in each other, and learning how to share the power in the relationship so that we can all be better together. Each week, we're going to give you tips and tools and strategies and even personal stories to help you wear two crowns. And we're going to invite experts in the field of relationships that will help to educate us, inspire us to wear two crowns as well.
Yes. So tune in each week. We look forward to our time together. Hello, and welcome to the Doctors J&J podcast. Once again, here we are.
We're back.
We're back, yes. We're going to talk about money today, but specifically rebuilding trust when it comes to finances.
Very important.
Yes.
Sadly, happens a lot.
Job security for us. Yes, it is very common for couples to have issues with trust with their money. So one of the things we really talk about is, first and foremost, is we diagnose the problem and we identify what broke the trust with money. And sometimes it can be small things, such as the person had their own personal credit card with maybe a couple $100 on it. And
it's minor.
Yes, that is minor. Then it could be somebody has been paying the mortgage for 4 months, and there is $50,000 worth of credit card debt, and they have a gambling addiction. So
there's a lot of ways to break trust financially.
There's a lot of ways to break trust financially. Sometimes it can be an innocent mistake where you just forget that some of your boundaries when it comes to money, and one of the partners becomes consumed or maybe an impulsive decision, and it still breaks trust with the finances.
Sure.
So in either case, when trust is broken, first you need to identify how was that trust broken.
Right.
And the person that broke the trust needs to be held responsible to fix the trust.
Right.
It's very simple. In the adult world, you make the mess, you clean it up. So you shouldn't be expecting your partner to take responsibility for your mess or the trust that you broke when you broke it. So you're going to be the one, if you've broken the trust when it comes to finances, take responsibility and repair the trust in the relationship.
Yeah. And just so you know, today we're not going to be talking about the ins and outs and pro tips about how to do finances successfully. If you want tips on that, tune in to last week's episode. Very good information there. Today, we're definitely just talking about when you think you have it all figured out in your finances and things go awry, where, like Jen said, there's deception.
Yeah.
There's lying, or there's hiding, or there's a lack of transparency.
Lack of access to funds or cards or accounts. We'll see that too.
Yeah. Where you thought you knew everything, but then one of the statements came from in the mail that you've never seen the statement before from this particular bank, and you open it up and you're absolutely shocked that there's $100,000 in this account that you didn't know about.
Right. Right.
And now you're planning to go on your own vacation as a result.
All alone.
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't work well for your partner or marriage. And that does sometimes require, if depending on the offense, a separation, and sometimes, sadly, a termination of the relationship, because sometimes you just can't get over that broken trust if somebody has been really flagrant about breaking the trust and then really disrespectful or irresponsible about repairing the trust.
Yeah, and Jen brought up a good point too, as far as trust can be broken not just
Mhm.
because you have a gambling addiction and you've been,
Mhm.
blowing all your paycheck at the casino. It could be where you just forgot to pay a bill that was your
Mhm.
responsibility, or um, something that,
An overdrawn an account.
yeah, you just
Mhm.
overdraw your account multiple times or something like that. So broken trust in finances comes in a lot of different forms, and a lot of times we notice is it's because there's a lack of transparency and a lack of communication.
Mhm.
Whereas one of the things that never got resolved is how we're going to handle saving or spending.
Mhm.
And so because that never got resolved, one person always feels like they have to hide to spend and they have to hide to save.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it's so important that you don't set your relationship up
Mhm.
for hiding, for
Mhm.
broken trust,
Mhm.
because you've never resolved, because we just couldn't talk about it. So we just do our own thing when it comes to the finances. And then
Mhm.
it, comes to this, this crossroads.
Mhm. I think what makes it easy too for your partner to come to you when you make a mistake is to have a loving response, because we all make mistakes. And that's the first thing, is that that person is coming to you and saying, I did this, and they're taking responsibility. They're fighting through their shame to be able to talk to you instead of keep hiding. I've heard that so many times. Somebody feels so bad because they missed the statement or they missed a bill. And so then they take out another credit card and they tell themselves they're going to pay it off, but then there's some emergency. And right. So this is
Cover their tracks.
so
Yeah.
it's not anything bad they're doing. They're actually really trying to provide for the family, but things happen. And, hospitals visits happen to different things. And then you'll find yourself really in deep water trying to pay back take care of your financial responsibilities. So if you get into that kind of negative cycle, and take responsibility immediately and go to your partner and say, I messed up. And if you're on the receiving end of this, first of all, thank your partner for coming to you and saying, thank you for telling me.
Because it took a lot of courage.
It took a lot of courage to say this. But then also encourage the partner that messed up. What are you going to do about this? How are you going to fix this problem? Right? And if the entire load is put on the partner, we've seen this happen before too.
Mhm.
The partner that messed up goes, I need you to share the load because this is just too much for me to carry.
Right.
And sometimes systems break because the person there's a lack of equity and sharing the load on the finances.
Right.
And sometimes it's a hard way to learn that lesson, but that is very telling to both partners. It says, this is too much to carry, and I really need some help with it.
Right. So the first step is full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
Right?
Yep.
If there is an offense, you do cross a boundary, you do something that violates the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And, financial trust is huge. I mean, that's security for a lot of women, especially, is that security that we're going to have a roof over our head. The bills are going to be paid, or the kids are going to eat, or, whatever. And I think you want to make sure your relationship is at a place where you can be transparent, and you don't want to go, well, I was afraid to tell, but then months and months and months go by, and now the thing you have to tell is so much bigger.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I wish I told the first month when it was only $100 and now it's $1,000. And so that full disclosure, that's super important. But also, you have to be committed and realize that you may have to relinquish control.
Ooh, that's good. Very
because at some point there has to be a consequence for what happened. And even if it was an honest mistake, or even if it was something where you felt shame and you hid or you were embarrassed, that the consequences that you no longer maybe have control over that account or those funds or that bill or that responsibility. And so that becomes part of the trust rebuilding, where your partner says, hey, I'm going to have to take that over because you broke trust. No
Right.
different than if you were in charge of the vault at the bank
Right.
and you had the key and you left for the day and you left the vault open.
Exactly.
You're not going to have the key to the vault next week.
No, you are not going to be put in charge of that vault. Yeah, there needs to be accountability for that, that both of you are making sure that you both are managing and protecting your resources. So sometimes there's honest mistakes made. Sometimes there's and most often we see that honest mistakes are made. Sometimes there's very deviant mistakes. I wouldn't say mistakes, deviant choices.
Deviant choices.
This is not a mistake. You are choosing to run up that credit card bill on said addictions, fill in the blank on that, right?
Right.
But those are choices. Either case, there needs to be the response needs to be the same, which is taking responsibility for that, coming to your partner, having full disclosure.
Having humility.
Absolutely. No, hey, I messed up on this, and beat your partner to the punch and say, because I messed up, here's how I'm going to repair. Don't make your partner ask for the repair. Don't make your partner come to you and say, I really need this for the repair. Don't do so many things before you do the repair, right? Make sure that if you violate trust, it's very important in the relationship to keep that trust stable and intact.
Right.
So make sure that becomes the number one thing on your to-do list is, before I go play pickleball or go work out at the gym or go, to work or go play with my friends, I'm going to make sure I check in with my partner and say, I am so sorry I broke trust. Here's how I'm going to repair.
Right.
Sorry is just one. Kids can say I'm sorry, but adults need to do the repair and make amends. So the adult then needs to say that messed up, whether intentionally or an accident, and say, hey, I need to make repairs on this and I need to make amends. And because of that, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to either invite you into this, or I'd like to share the responsibility on this, or I'd like to pull back on some of my responsibility and dial this in a little bit more and make this a little bit simpler so that we can make sure this trust gets rebuilt.
Right. No, it's such a good point that amends gets lost, and a lot of times it's because people don't know what to do to repair, because it's an abstract thing. It's like, well, I went to the casino. It's like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to go blow up the casino so I can't go there anymore. That's not that's not a logical thing. But I need to figure out what is something I can do to repair. And the biggest thing is very specifically even writing out, like, here's what I'm going to do instead.
Right.
Here's my commitment. And to replace, you have to replace the negative behavior with the positive one.
Right.
And it's so important to let your partner know, like, I messed up, but I am going to do this to repair. And, no different than if you ran over your neighbor's mailbox on accident, right? You're going to go down to Home Depot right away, give them the best mailbox they've ever had in their life, because you want a good neighbor at the end of the day.
It does remind me of that time that the roads were really slick and icy, right? And you're such a good driver.
But I was in a hurry.
You were in a hurry, but I also think you were taking the corner, maybe a little sharp. I don't know, but it was really icy roads. I really don't think it was faulty driving on your part as much as it was just
it was bad conditions,
an honest accident, right? And you clipped our neighbor's fence, and you didn't blink an eye. You went right in. You knocked on the door, talked to him about it, and you said, "Let me get over here, and I'll be fixing that fence." And I remember the neighbor called you later on and said, "You are a fence-making fool." He was so blessed by you taking responsibility for that, and you had it just perfect, and it actually looked better than even before. He goes, I was actually going to repair that, and so
it's what you're supposed to do, right? Yes. But I wish relationships were as easy as fences.
Right.
Because you can't go to Home Depot to fix your financial broken trust.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
That is the hard part, but there has to be something as concrete as that.
Right.
And the first thing, like you said, is full disclosure. The other thing is apologize for this. We talk
Right.
about this in our book, Two Crowns, One Kingdom, which is the 3 A's, which is admit what you've done, apologize for what you've done, and then make amends.
Right.
And that's what happens when there's an accident. We call them AAA.
AAA. When you're broken down on the side of the road, when your relationship's broken down, which it would be broken down with broken trust, you got to call AAA.
You got to call AAA. And even people say, well, it's just an accident. It doesn't matter if it's an accident. Nobody cares if it's an accident. Nobody typically hits somebody on purpose. Although I did have somebody.
I did not hit the
tried to
neighbor's
hit me on
fence.
purpose.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was mentally ill.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, that's for another day. So yeah, acknowledge A,
Yes.
apologize, second A, and amends, the third A, which is so important.
Yes, even when there's an accident. An accident is not an excuse to not repair.
Yeah, one of the things I say in my office all the time is if I run over your foot on accident, unintentionally with my truck,
right,
your foot is still crushed.
Yeah, and you're still held responsible.
Right. So I could yell out the window as I'm driving away that, hey, it was unintentional.
Right.
While your foot is crushed.
And you know what that's called? A hit and run. And that's illegal.
And we see a lot of those in marriage.
We see a lot of those.
A lot of hit and runs.
And those are illegal in marriage too. It will not work. It will not create longevity. But if you take the time to really repair the trust, it will potentially cause your partner to have far more respect for you than they did initially. Mm-hmm. Plus, it models to your children and anybody else watching, this is what I do for something so abstract as trust. You always rebuild it. Yeah. Find a way to rebuild it. Do something kind. Do something that is memorable. Maybe if you misused funds, use some funds for your partner and take them on a nice vacation. If you hid funds, make sure that you are giving full disclosure in all the funds. Right. And don't complain every time your partner wants to check on the accounts. This is a way for checking, is a way to reestablish trust. And it takes about 9 months, studies show, to restore trust. That means you're doing good behavior for 9 months, and your partner's checking probably for a good 3 to 6 months of that time. Yeah, that's part of the consequence, right? Just like I said, you may relinquish control, but it's kind of like when you break the law in our country, right? If you create a felony, you can't vote anymore. You're not an eligible voter because you've given up that right. Right. And so I kind of remind people of that too. When you break trust, you're kind of breaking the law in your marriage. And so you no longer have the right to privacy or freedom with your finances. Right. And so it's like you're going to be checked all the time. You're not going to have access. A lot of things are going to change. And that's part of what you've given up. You could complain and blame your spouse for always checking, but you made that bet. You did. And I think it's really important to differentiate between trust and love. Yes. Trust is earned, love is given, right? Freely given. So even though your partner may have broken trust, it does not mean you need to withhold love. Sometimes, though, a partner will feel like, hey, as soon as the love comes, everything's fine. And that is not the case. And it's important to establish some healthy boundaries that says, I still love you, and I'm going to hold you, and when you mess up, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to help put you back together. And I need you to repair the trust. And sometimes it's just having empathy. Sometimes it's just as simple as having empathy for the person, write an apology letter, saying, I understand. Here's the insight I have. Here's what you can expect from me in the future. That goes a long ways. A beautiful, so true Hallmark card. But what I do notice a lot is the person who messes up are so consumed with their shame. Yes. And so consumed with the guilt and just feeling bad about not just getting caught, but doing something that was deceptive or broke trust with their partner. And so that becomes what they're consumed about, and they forget to provide comfort and care for their offended partner. Yeah. Yeah. Shame makes us hide. And so it's really normal when you do something wrong for you to hide. And stereotyping on this, but typically men deal far more with shame. So it's really common for when a man messes up, man, please don't notice it. Please don't talk about it. Please don't go there. Let's just leave it alone. And sometimes we as women will protect them on that and we won't go there. Unfortunately, the growth doesn't happen. So if you can lovingly stay out of shame, and if you're the wife and your husband is messed up, to be able to not heap on a ton of shame on him, at the same time respond with love and respond with boundaries that says, thank you so much for telling me, I so appreciate it, and you know what, this did break trust, and I'd really need you to put some time into earning the trust and building it back.
Right. And once you work through this process, especially if you do it well, it can't be something that just gets thrown in your partner's face all the time.
Right.
That's the worst, when you go through a traumatic thing like this where there's broken trust and you guys do all the work, and then down the road it just gets thrown in the other person's face instead of saying, hey, that's healed, I've forgiven you. You may get triggered, which is different. I just want to reiterate the difference, that something may happen where you drive by a casino and you start to get mad at your partner and they haven't gambled for years. That's different than you have an argument and then you just kind of throw out a jab of I can't trust you for nothing, or whatever. And so it's just important that you protect each other in that. And if you're triggered, I always tell couples, instead of lashing out, and even though it feels good sometimes to just kind of feel like you just got some of that hurt and anger out, is just to say, hey, honey, I got triggered. I could just use some reassurance or comfort. Very vulnerable.
I know.
Very hard to do.
Really hard.
But man, it's so much better if you could just say, I just got triggered by that casino that we just drove by, and your partner can go, and you just say, hey, I just need some reassurance, and go, hey, I am so sorry that you're even having to be triggered by that because of my behavior, and I just want to reassure you, I haven't darkened the doors of a casino for years, and I will never do that to you again. Whatever it takes. It's like, that is so powerful to just give that reassurance, and that the person who gets triggered doesn't have shame.
That's so good, honey. That's so good. I know that's so good for me when I get triggered by either something that has happened in the past or something I've done, and you're just quick to just reassure me, or you're quick to regulate me, help to just soothe and calm me. And it's such an honor too when your partner comes to you in their shame and you get to be the person they come to, and you get to be the one to comfort them, and you get to be the one that holds them and say, it's okay, I love you, and I'm still going to be here, and we're going to get through this. Now make amends.
Right.
You can do both.
Right.
And I think this is something sometimes we struggle to do in relationships is, well, I said I'm sorry, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's 1/3 of it. You need to really admit what you've done and really understand, how did it really hurt your partner? And that's where empathy comes in. What does it feel like to be your partner who went through this too and experienced some violation or some hurt or some shock, and they're struggling to even show up to comfort you? And if they do and put their feelings aside to give you comfort and care and support, to make sure you return the favor and say, okay, I feel better. Let me make sure I give you some comfort and care and support.
Right.
And then let me make sure that I make some amends. And of course, building trust, this works for any topic. We're talking specifically with money, because that's a lot of times where we see trust is broken. But this can also apply for infidelity in the relationship or emotional affairs, anything like that can really break trust, or broken promises, or just not following through on tasks.
Right.
Breaks trust.
Yeah. The other thing I would just say too is, sometimes the person who did the offense wants it to just go away. They don't want to talk about it anymore. Right. They don't want it brought up because it just feels so much shame, and they just feel like it's shoved in their face. And so they just want to move on, and they don't honor the time for healing.
Right. That's true.
And
Right.
the offended partner, it takes time to rebuild that trust and to, be able to get past that. And, they say it takes an average of 2 years to
You said
truly rebuild trust, which,
wow, I
yeah.
heard, I've heard 9 months, but 2 years sounds a lot more accurate to me. 9 months is probably when you start to really feel the effects of trust starting to get repaired.
Yeah.
But
Well, I remind people
2
that
years is
sometimes it's 3,
significant.
right? If it's an average of 2, that means some take 3, some take 1, right?
Yeah, right.
But I noticed that it's way longer than you think.
Mhm.
And, a year and a half later, I could still be driving by that casino and go, oh, that just really triggers me or
Right.
whatever. So
Right.
it's just important to honor time for healing and not be scared of that. I always tell people just normalize it, to go, oh, did you get triggered again? Or, oh, yeah, that's just, something normal that happens. And we know what to do. And I always say, if you can just get ahead of it and just know that the trigger is going to come, or that the healing is there, or it may not even be a trigger. It could just be that your spouse wakes up and just is terrified because of that anxiety, and she just needs a hug, or he just needs a hug. And it's like, it if you can just plan on that instead of be surprised by it, it's so much easier.
Very, very true. It's, as you're talking about this, I just reminded so much of the importance of regulation, right? And we've talked a lot about that in some of our earlier episodes, but regulating yourself. But when trust is broken, there really needs to be a lot of co-regulation.
Yes.
And sometimes it can't come at first. So sometimes the couples are so mad at each other, but I'm like, they're still you're still that person's home, right? But like, don't touch me and don't even look at me.
Right.
So a lot of times the couple will come in and they're both so dysregulated and in distress, the partner who messed up and then the partner who's recovering from the trust broken, that they can't turn towards each other. And we want to reassure you that's normal too.
Right.
So find somebody who will love you both and care for you and will empathize and not shame you for messing up, because we all mess up. There's nobody who is removed from this, right? We are all human. We all mess up. We all are in need of grace.
Yes.
So you want somebody to respond with compassion and empathy for you and validate you and then help you. I always say, go from 0 to hero, put on that red cape and figure out how to be the hero in the story again. Put on your crown. You just kind of dropped it.
I've had to do that too many times.
With
the 0 to hero part.
With who?
You.
Oh, with me?
With who?
I thought you were talking with your clients. I'm like, what?
No.
Yeah. No, I have too. I think we both have in our own ways. But yeah, I do think that there's been, sometimes I find that to be a lot of times women can be a little bit more intuitive, again, stereotyping, when it comes to relationships and how to nurture. And men, not so much. And that wasn't a strong point of yours early on. And we did have to talk a lot about how to apologize and make apologies and make amends. And I learned to ask for apologies, and you do a great job of giving them. And I've learned to ask for amends. Like, this is not over for me. Thank you for the sorry, but I really need some amends. And you've done the same thing and asking that for me as well.
Yeah, and we forget to ask for that, and part of it is because I think our culture just doesn't do amends well, and I think we don't know, really what that's what it involves, and it's okay, like you said, just to go, I need amends, and we may need to help each other. Like, what would be amends to you?
Right.
And I can't really come up with a creative solution or whatever, and. But we always say that for so many things. It's like whether you forgot to do your chore or you did something bigger, like we're talking about here with financial breaking trust. But sometimes we get really lazy in marriage where we just go, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry. That's like,
you don't learn. You don't learn unless you make amends.
right.
And this is a loving gesture. This is not a punitive one, nor is this one where you put it into a parent-child relationship. This is a loving gesture for your partner to mature and grow and for your relationship to really stay at that two crown status. Let's have two wise adults. Let's both of us clean up our messes. And what I was saying too earlier, when it comes to sometimes a couple is both dysregulated, sometimes you need that friend, that therapist, pastor, somebody, parent that can say, "You're okay. I believe in you. Um, I I love you and I care for you, and you can do better. So let's do better, right?"
Yeah, that accountability. And sometimes, you know,
And if you can't
that's
get
part of the amends and the consequences. Like, you need to have somebody that's helping to hold you accountable.
right, but I believe we grow better with grace and honor.
Mm,
And so if that's something you're struggling to give to your partner because the pain is just so big, this is where we have both been in that position many times where we're just regulating both of the partners, where we're
mhm.
co-regulating with them and we're
Yes.
affirming and
Yeah.
we're validating.
Helping them with that.
Yes. And then once people are regulated, now we can think clearly. Again, we move to that frontal lobe, angel brain. It's the best part of our brain. We stay out of
That's
the
right.
fear. And then we learn how to love better, live better, lead better
Yes.
together.
All of those things. And one of the things I'll add here at the end is one of the things we mentioned in last episode, which is I'm going to key in this one too, is we said it's important to write down your agreements, your financial agreements. And
Right.
obviously when there's broken trust, there's been an agreement broken,
Mhm.
or you didn't even know you needed to have that agreement
Right.
because
Right.
it wasn't even on your radar. So at the end of this whole process, you need to revisit those boundaries, those agreements,
Mm.
and make sure you write down that says, hey, this can't
Mhm.
ever happen
Right.
again, or you know, anything over this dollar amount, you know, we're checking, or
Mm.
whatever the violation was, is that there's a very clear agreement written down that you both have agreed to, so that we're not a year from now going, oh, well, I didn't know you didn't want me to do that anymore now.
Right.
Like, it's been a year. It's
Right.
like, no, it says the never line.
Right.
Remember that?
Right. Yeah. And sometimes the agreements need to be revised because
Exactly.
maybe burdens need to be shifted, or there's been some dynamics in the relationship or family or even health that's made it hard for you to continue in the way that you've continued with your boundaries.
Right.
So you're right on. It's when trust is broken, it's also a good time to recalibrate, revisit your boundaries, write them down, kind of make this contract again. Like what are we agreeing to that build trust and security?
Yeah. And if you need to revise how you operate financially as a couple, like if you are feeling like restricted and where you can't go play and have fun, and that's why you're
Mhm.
using a credit card,
Mhm.
is to go do some of your hobbies or do some of those things because the budget feels too restricted, or the finances, and that's the whole reason. Then you need to revisit how you're operating financially as a couple, so that you have no temptation to hide,
Yeah.
that you
Mhm.
aren't wanting to, you know, squirrel away money without the other person knowing it, or spending it. And
Mhm.
that's where you have to come to a compromise that says, okay, we're going to loosen the reins here and say,
Mhm.
we both have more freedom to spend, or we're going to, you know, save this amount, but we're going to spend this amount. So make it a learning process, not just a devastating, punitive thing.
Well said, Jake. So true, honey. I think the big thing too when it comes to money is to remember it is synonymous with power, right? So when the trust gets broken, the hardest thing that happens is you feel like your power has been diminished, right? And that's when trust has gotten broken with money specifically, that your power has gotten diminished. And that's one of our four primary needs, is to be a powerful person, right? And again, the very premise of wear two crowns, so that we stay out of resentments, we stay out of bitterness, we stay into freedom, abundance mentality, co-leaders, loving with more availability. So when we break trust with money, we need to be aware it's bigger than just the money. We're dealing with people's personal power that we feel like, wait a minute,
Right.
you've just trapped me, and that
Right.
doesn't feel good.
Be a king and a queen.
Be a king and a queen.
Sit on your throne and act like it, and that's so important. What's our crown jewel for this one? I have an idea.
Give it. Bring it.
I think the crown jewel that just kind of encompasses the whole thing is that when there is financial trust broken,
Right.
call AAA.
Yeah. That's good.
Not the tow company, but call AAA in that call out and acknowledge what you've done quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Apologize for the offense and work at making amends.
Admit. First admit, right?
Yeah.
Or
Acknowledge.
acknowledge, right? What you did that really devastated the trust in the relationship. Because when you just say, I'm sorry, you are not acknowledging what you did, how it impacted your partner. It's very different if I hurt Jake and I just go, oh, sorry about that, versus I took the credit card and I spent that without your knowledge, and I really racked up the account. And now it makes you not be able to trust me. And I know that breaks your heart, and it breaks mine, because that's not who we are. And it's my job to make this right. I'm really sorry about that. Now the sorry is received, right?
Right, because you put an acknowledgement, you admitted
Yes.
all of the things that you did that, said that. So
Right.
I would say if you can remember that formula when
Right.
there's a broken trust in any area, but especially financially, that is so important. And we just pray that this encouraged you today, and that if there is broken trust financially in your relationship, that there's hope.
There is hope.
We believe in you.
We do believe
You
in you.
got this.
You got this.
And we want you
Got
to
this.
encourage you to live, love, and lead better together. And make sure you pass this on to somebody else who may need it. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and check out our social media, and get on there. And if you can get on our website and subscribe to our newsletter, you'll get a preview of every episode ahead of time, so you can plan ahead. In fact, those many episodes.
Usually a fun story
Yeah.
in there too.
All right.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.